Hello, everybody, to this very nice Tuesday in autumn. We have beautiful weather over here in Europe, and I saw with Frederick in Hong Kong, it is the same case, isn't it, Frederick?
That's right. It's beautiful. It's extremely hot, but other than that, it's not raining for a change.
Okay, welcome again. Let's start with our webinar. Today is a 50 series to get to the most musical sound, and I'm really proud to introduce you this combination of Model 50 and CD50N because it's just a very nice start into premium quality audio. That's what I put on a title of this slide here, and yeah, what does it bring you? The Model 50 is first of all pure analog integrated amplifier. Yeah, having a high current amplifier stage built in, so it gives you high current capability to drive any speakers with confidence. You have a nice phono stage built in for MM, and we have with the CD50N all the digital sources you can think of already. You have CD playback, of course, you have network streaming, you have AirPlay and Bluetooth streaming, but as well you have HDMI connectivity, and you can hook up your TV screen very easily. And there's a communication between the amplifier and the CD50N, so that even input will change as soon as you apply an HDMI signal from a TV via ARC and CEC control. We have the USB duct mode, and of course, as you know it from Marantz, you have all the finest technologies and parts built in as well. Altogether, it will bring you a premium quality audio, a real statement for your listening room. So, in the presentation today, it will take, I would guess, roughly 50 minutes because we have to cover two products. I will get you all the details, the in and outs, the speciality of these two units. And then we'll start off with the Model 50N. But first of all, just a brief recap on the product lineup. As you can see on the right-hand side, our lineup of products here, the amplifiers, are getting more and more the new design. Yeah, so all the old design products, all the old product numbers disappear from the list more and more. So we have in the entry class, of course, PM6007, then the Stereo 70S stereo receiver, which we covered last time in the webinar, 7000N connected amplifier, and then we already come to the Model 50, Model 40N, Model 30, and the two premium products, the 12 and the 10. On the CD player side, you can see that we have a similar lineup. We have the 6007, the CD60, which we introduced beginning of the year. Then the 50N, the new one we are covering now. SACD 30N, so both of these models do have network integrated already. And then the 12 series and the 10 series. So the system with the Model 50, you can see it in the center, the picture of the Model 50 and the CD50N. HEOS connectivity is, of course, already built in. I already explained a bit of the connectivity, which you can see on the left-hand side. You can hook up your phono, you can hook up your TV, and all kind of media equipment, and then feed the sound by the HDMI ARC. And you can connect a nice pair of speakers, like, for example, the 603, which I show on the right-hand side. And you're ready to go. So let's go to the details. I will start off with the Model 50, as mentioned. As you can see, I have it here on beside me in the gold, the silver gold color. Frederick on his side has it in black, so both colors are available. And what makes the Model 50 actually special? Of course, first of all, we have the new ID, which we introduced first with the Model 30. So it's actually following the same concept, the same design. If we look into the inside, we'll see that we did a lot to get you to a new level of performance. And then, of course, we also worked on the user interface to make operation of the product much nicer, much easier, and giving the customer a good feedback via the porthole display in the center. On the rear, you can see all kind of connectivity. Let's start on the top left, where I mentioned premium RCA terminals for CD and phono MM. So these two inputs have, let's say, a better quality, higher, more solid RCA terminals than for the other inputs, because we see these as main input sources or inputs for the Model 50. Then we have the high quality speaker terminals, the Marantz unique ones, the SPK T+1. They are made of copper and then covered by nickel. We have a control bus. That's something I'm coming back to in the presentation as well. It's very important if you combine CD50N and also using HDMI, ARC and CEC connectivity. Power amp direct we have, of course, as well. That makes the integrated amplifier to adjust the power amplifier. So if you want to combine the Model 50 in your AV setup, for example, we have the pre-outs if you want to, and the subwoofer out if you want to extend the system, and you have 4 additional analog inputs and 1 output. So it's actually nicely covered all what you need to have from an integrated amplifier. So the next one, let's have a look inside of the product, the inner construction. As you can see, I separated here or divided it in 3 areas. The yellow one is actually the power supply part, while in the center you can see the heatsink where also the power amplifier stage is mounted to. And on the right-hand side, you have all the input connectivity, preamplifier, phono circuitry, where, let's say, all the small audio signals are handled. The construction which we chosen here with having the heatsink in the center is done on purpose because that actually separates the power supply from the sensitive small analog signal area, so that we can minimize interference for better performance overall. If we look into the real product, putting it here side to side with the CD50N as well as the PM8006, because that's actually the product which the Model 50 is replacing. You can see a certain similarity, of course, between Model 50 on the left-hand side and PM8006 on the right-hand side. However, you also will notice immediately that the chassis size increased by 5 centimeters. This gives us good opportunity to also increase parts inside of the product, like the power supply. As you can see, the toroidal transformer on the left-hand side over here. So that's a toroidal transformer. I'm coming back to this one as well. But we also have much more space over here for the analog audio board in comparison to what we had in the PM8006. So we have more space, we can have refined circuitry, and we can use nicer, more quality, or even bigger parts. That's what we gain by having this extra big size chassis. And yeah, let's have a closer look what we have done in addition on the chassis side. So mechanical is always a very important point to consider. If you design a product, you don't want to have vibrations in the product because that actually has negative impact to the audio quality. So we are going to bring down vibration as much as possible. So we need a solid construction. And you can see here again, we do compare to the PM8006, where we only have the rear panel, while with 0.8 millimeters, that's the blue part here. In addition, we have an extra part put here on the front, for better shielding and stabilization. That's actually coming from the Model 40N, as you can see here. And we have an extra plate underneath the power transformer, also to get more stability in here and reduce vibration. So here we are seeing now the power transformers. Again, the comparison Model 50 to PM8006, and you can see it is much bigger, has increased diameter. And by that increased diameter, we can use different kind of winding, copper winding, with a thicker diameter as well, which allows us to bring down the impedance of the winding, which allows us again to increase actually the current. So, and that's very important. High current means high control over your speaker, your connected speaker, and the high current, you're actually driving from your transformer into the main capacitors via the power stage to your speakers. I will show it in some additional slides. But important to mention here is low impedance transformer, high instant current capability, and we call it HICC. Yeah, as you can see printed over here. So that's a quite step up. Looking here to the construction of the power supply, I mentioned the main capacitors. So the power transformer is actually somewhere here in the back, as you can see. This is a heat sinks, and directly from the power transformer, we go to the power amplifier board, where also the main capacitors are mounted on. So from these main capacitors, actually the left and the right power amplifier would get all the current, all the power they need to, let's say, amplify the signal and actually to drive the speaker. So by putting the main capacitors on here, we have very short path for the power supply, for the power lines. Yeah, so the yellow one is the high current voltage line. And then, as said, we have the left and the right power amplifier mounted down here. They're getting the power from the main capacitors, and then it will be fed directly to the speaker terminals. Yeah, so amplification is going to happen here, direct connection to the speaker terminals over here. And this is really very short signal paths, and short passes actually means, again, low impedance on the track, which means, again, so we don't have any loss on this one here. I talked about the high current, which is actually needed to drive your speakers carefully, sufficiently. And to handle this high current, there's always limitation in the power transistors. So the power transistor is the final piece before the signal will be passed on to the speakers. And the power transistors can overheat if you drive too much current. And with an increased current, we now have a new solution to handle it. So looking to the PM8006 here on the right-hand side, we had one pair of transistors for the amplification, also mounted on here. For the new Model 50, we have two pairs of transistors which are running in parallel, which means they actually can run more current, which, I said, high current is really important to drive your speaker. And also here on the heatsink, you can see we have now the 4 transistors instead of the 2. So this is just one channel. If you have 2 channels, well, left and right, of course, you will end up with 8 transistors. And again, as mentioned before, low impedance, having high current, it's also important that your power tracks are very much capable of handling this high current. And to do that, we also made a change here. On the former 8006, we had the copper foil tracks just on the PCB board. Now with the Model 50, we're also adding on this position over here, these copper power bars, where actually the current is running over. So it's all done to sufficiently transport the current within the product via the power transistors to your speakers to drive them sufficiently. So this is all about power supply and power amplification, power stage. Let's have a look if we take the signal inside of the product, means via the RCA terminals, CD, phono, whatsoever. We always handle our signal with, let's say, with care, and one big care we do with our HDAM modules, our little amplifier modules. And as you can see it here, again, also in the Model 50, you do find them back. It's all built up in discrete parts, amplifying small signals to make them larger, to drive additional stages, which are coming after the preamplifier, for example. So all this together brings you the detailed and precise sound image. Then the HDAMs we are using in the Model 50 are also newer versions, so means improved versions to what we have used before in the 8006. And you can see here on the measurements that we significantly improved the THD. So THD stands for total harmonic distortion, and we brought this down by nearly 40% at a 1.5 volt 20 kilohertz. And you can see it's really nicely improving here. And this is actually the same HDAM module technology used in the Model 40N. Then we do have the phono equalizer board, which does support cartridges. And this time, the phono EQ does come with a DC-servo. What does it mean? There's always a certain unbalance in circuitry, and you always have to do some corrections to get rid of some DC voltages. You can do that by just putting in capacitors in your signal path to block the DC voltage, while these capacitors always can have a negative impact on the transition of the audio signal as well. So the best way is to get rid of these capacitors and find another solution to balance these out, the DC component. And that's done by a DC-servo. With a refined version of the DC-servo, we now manage to get this full signal path without capacitors in the signal for the very sensitive, small level phono signal from cartridges. Again, here, detailed and precise soundstage and image is the result. Best components, you heard the story before, just highlighting here some of the parts used in the Model 50 now. You see the Marantz branded main capacitors with 18,000 microfarad. These are especially made for Marantz by Suscon, as well as you can see in the middle picture, we have capacitors, audio capacitors from Suscon, which we are using in the Model 50, which do give us a perfect result for Marantz. And on some other places within the circuitry, we are using film capacitors, which are quite expensive, while they do have a very nice sound characteristic. We are using these as well in the Model 30, for example. So that's also what we're always doing. If we first start to introduce a new lineup, like the Model 30 2 years ago, we gain some knowledge, we do find new components, and then by time we are tripling down the information which we found, the new parts we found, into new category of products, lower model, just to give them the same or a similar performance level. So the Model 50 surely benefited from the Model 30 development. On the other side, on different areas of the circuitry, you will find film capacitors, low ESR capacitors in the digital area, or reducing digital noise. If you, for example, think about the control the microprocessor, so that to cover off, we have MEF, high precision resistors, low noise transistors. That's all, let's say, kind of standard parts, however, high quality standard parts. And on the right hand side, you can see a close up of our Marantz speaker terminals, and you can also see they're very solid made, capable of taking bananas and also bare wires, and you can tighten them really hard, so that you get the best connectivity to your speaker cables and your speakers. Sound tuning we talked about, it's no magic, but a lot of experience. It's all about try and error, finding the right components, finding the right mix of components, finding new circuitries. That's where Marantz is very strong in, and where our sound master, Ogata-san, is very keen on, always to stretch the limits and do the extra mile and find a better solution to improve always the sound quality of a product. So where we are always aiming for is, of course, a large sound stage. Wide open. Wide open means not only wide but also deep and also high. So it's a three-dimensional sound stage. Actually, open means that we can actually feel the air which is between instruments or the singer, so just having a real nice soundstage. High level of clearness, openness, focus means that the image shouldn't be blurred, but really pinpointing every detail which is in the music, so everything comes across very nicely, and also supported by a nice and tight bass. So that's what we're always aiming for. which in the end gives you the most musical sound. Let's have a quick summary on the Model 50N. Premium integrated amplifier, as I mentioned, so we have done a lot, as you have seen now in the presentation already, to elevate the performance of the integrated amplifier over the former PM8006, be it the power supply, the main capacitors, the high current capability. So that's all there. We have the latest generation of our HDAMs for fine signal treatment. The Marantz phono stage, Marantz musical phono stage, which does come with the DC-servo. Yeah, so I mentioned that we took out the capacitors in the signal path. Toroidal transformer, which has a diameter of 125 millimeter, new copper winding, lower impedance, high current capability, very stable and reliable power supply, even for demanding speakers and music. Yeah, chassis construction, also very solid. I mentioned a few parts, what we have done. In addition to what I have shown you, we also have a triple layer bottom plate, yeah, to really make the product stiff and heavy. And then, yeah, once we have done all the amplification, the careful treatment of the audio signal, we pass on the amplified signal via our speaker terminals, the Marantz ones, the SPKT+1. We use for the best connectivity so that we don't lose any bit. Yeah, on the right hand side, you can see some more features printed out in detail, but I'm not going to dig into that one right now, because we have still the C50N in front of us, and that even does come with some more features, which will take a bit more time. So let's move on with the CD50N. Just a quick view on the rear panel, because that's where all the signal is actually going in. We have, of course, network connectivity built in, means we have Wi-Fi and LAN connectivity. We have USB-A for memory sticks or even a USB hard disk. Then we have the HDMI ARC terminal, which nicely connects to your TV for all your TV sound, and also is, of course, supporting CEC. We have digital inputs, optical, coaxial, but also the USB-B. That means it's a full USB-B dock function built in, so that you directly can connect your computer to the CD50N to use it as a dock. Then we have the control terminals, as mentioned on the Model 50. I'm coming to back to this one later. Left beside, not marked here, but we still have, of course, RS-232 control terminals as well. Then we have two types of output. The variable output, where you, of course, can connect a power amplifier or active speakers directly to. And you can do all the control of the volume level via the CD50N remote and just drive active speakers or the connected power amplifiers. But we also have a fixed level output. And here we also apply the premium quality RCA terminals, like you have seen on the Model 50 for the CD input and the phono input. Yeah, also here, that's our main, let's say, output we recommend to use in combination with the Model 50. Yeah. So then network connectivity. I don't have to tell a lot about it. You all know, are very familiar with it. It gives you access to all the streaming services, but also access to your music on the server in higher resolution, supporting, of course, FLAC and DST up to 192, FLAC and DST 5.6. We are working on an update here as well to even extend the capability, but it's coming later in the year, beginning of next year, most likely. And then you see the HEOS app already mentioned, also something very nice to operate the unit with. And also here we are working on an update, which is going to be launched within this year still. So stay tuned on that one. Then we do have Bluetooth headphone support. I think that's quite unique to this product. Of course, I mentioned we do have AirPlay, we have Bluetooth for streaming from your smart device toward the C50N. However, you can also retransmit the audio signal via Bluetooth. So if you're playing a CD, if you're streaming any music from the HEOS network, if you have something connected to your HDMI or USB dock inputs, all these audio sounds can be retransmitted to a Bluetooth headphone. Yeah? So just pair the headphone, and you can then get the audio signal towards your headphones and adjust the volume on the headphones. There's no volume adjustment for the transmitted Bluetooth signal. Very important to know. And also, as we had the question last time, it's not possible to stream with Bluetooth to the unit and retransmit at the same time. So it's either streaming towards the unit or retransmitting to the headphones. Then we have the easy, let's say, integration of the product in the network. As you know, network connectivity can be a pain if not done in a proper way, and customer might struggle and call you for help. This we do overcome with our quick setup guide, where it's nicely described step by step in simple words how to connect if the customer still wants to read. It's even easier if you just use the HEOS app, because on the screen in the HEOS app, if you add a device to your environment, your HEOS environment, or even if it's just the first unit you connect to your HEOS environment, then it's very easy, guided by the app itself, and step by step you will manage to get the unit connected. At one point, you will be asked to press the connect button. We do have a connect button on the unit itself, on the rear, which of course can be used for that. However, to make the life even easier, we also have a double function on the remote. As you can see on the red rectangle, I marked the HEOS button, which of course in normal operation brings you directly to the HEOS connectivity and all the services related to it. But if you press and hold it, it acts as a connect button as well. So very easy to hook up the product to the network. So it's all nicely described in the app. Another nice added feature, if you have a HEOS account, you do get access to all your, or you can store all your playlists and your favorite radio station, all these kind of stuff. But you have to set up a HEOS account. This can be a bit of a pain, or let's say it was a bit of a pain with the old model, like the ND8006, which the CD50N is replacing, because you had to type all the characters via the remote handset into the unit using the display on the front. That was kind of annoying, so we thought about a better solution. And now we have the transmission function from the HEOS app into the CD50N. So you only have to hook up, or let's say register your account in the HEOS app, and then the HEOS account information will be automatically transmitted into the CD50. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, just beside the product image, you can see that favorites do show up in the HEOS setup menu. Once you just press the HEOS button, you will see the favorites. If the account data is not transferred, there's no favorites available. So just to let you know, it's very easy today to get the HEOS account data into the CD50N. HDMI connectivity, now something completely new to this product. ND8006, there was no HDMI. CD50N does support HDMI ARC, which elevates your sound experience when watching TV, because the sound of your TV now can be nicely reproduced via CD50N plus the connected Model 50. And how does it work? Yeah, you know the setup. You just have to connect a HDMI cable between the two units, and once you power on your TV, automatically the CD50N will change to HDMI input, because it's supported by CEC protocol. Of course, it's not 100% covered with all TV sets because you know from experience there are always a few TV sets which might not work proper in this way, but then it's still possible to use, of course, a remote handset. However, if it works perfectly, it's not only changing the input of the CD50N to HDMI, but also is powering on automatically the Model 50, and you also can actually control the volume of the Model 50 via the remote handset of the TV. And here it's coming back now what I mentioned before. We have these remote bus on the rear of the products where you have to make one connection of the remote control or for the remote control, because the CD50N will tell the Model 50 what to do. Yeah, so it's transmitting actually the CEC signal from the CD50N to the Model 50, and then you can power on, power off the amplifier. The input will change to CD, and you can also adjust to the volume. How does it look? Working with a fixed level output. For example, CD50 is set to fixed output level. Status of the CD50N is in standby. Model 50 is also in standby. Last input was phono. If I now power on the TV, as you can see on the left-hand side, power on TV, CD50N will automatically power on, Model 50 will power on, and the input from phono will change to CD input, and the volume can be controlled by the TV remote handset. If you work with a variable output on the CD50, it's a bit different configuration then, because basic situation is the same, but the CD50N variable output will be controlled by the volume control of the TV remote handset. And on Model 50, the input will be automatically set to power amp direct input, not CD, because on CD it will expect a fixed level. No, we are now using the power amp direct input, because we are feeding a variable input signal. Okay, that was the feature block, what we have added on functionality. Now let's have a look inside of the product, what makes it a really nice sounding product actually. What I put up here is to give you a block diagram, to give you a bit more better feeling, better understanding of how a CD player, network player actually is constructed, how all the different sections do work together. First of all, we of course do need a power supply, because we need the energy to feed all the different sections of the product. And as on an amplifier, also on a CD/network player, clean power is very, very important. It's a must-have to really achieve also best audio quality. We actually do have 3 power supplies running in the CD50N. So on the left-hand side, you can see we have a toroidal transformer, and we have an audio power, which is on top, and a digital audio power, which is at the bottom. So these 2 sections are fed by the toroidal transformer. And then we have another power supply, a switching mode power supply, SMPS, which is just used for all the control function for operating the processor, the control processor. So we have the power supply. Then we have the digital circuit, which actually is, let's say, routing all the digital signals, but also working with the processor to understand all the control commands coming from your remote or the keys on the front or from the CD mechanism. And that's what you can see here on front circuitry with all the display and keys, and the CD mechanism, that's all controlled by the digital circuitry. And these do also get the power and the signal routing, the digital signal routing, or the command signal routing. If we talk about digital inputs, which do include the HDMI, the USB dock, and the optical coaxial inputs, the HEOS input signal, these all do come into the digital circuit as well. However, there's no processing actually, because these signals are handed in the digital circuit, but then passed on to the audio circuitry. The audio circuitry, so that's the signal going up from the digital circuit to the audio circuit, is still a digital signal. And only in the audio circuitry, the DA conversion is going to happen. The digital filtering is going to happen. And then it will be passed on to the output stage using the HDAMs, and we also have the headphone. And then you have on the right-hand side, top right, the analog output, fixed and variable. So that's actually the block diagram. So all these sections are very important inside the product, and all do get a lot of love and care to get you the best audio signal at the output. Inside, yeah, you can see it's quite crowded, so it's good that we have a bigger size chassis, because the same like we have seen on the Model 50, also the chassis size of the CD50N increased by 5 centimeters in comparison to the ND8006. And yeah, you can see it easily. It's fully packed. We have put everything in there in an extended way. Let's go bottom left. That's the easiest, because then we also have the route for the power signal and so on. Front plate, I mentioned before, we have an extra shielding with a metal front plate. Then we have the toroidal transformer, which also has a bigger size than on the ND8006. So that's where the digital audio power and the analog audio power is coming from. Underneath the main board, we have an SMPS power supply for the processor, as explained. Then we have the digital connectivity, USB dock and HDMI, which are on the top left, so mounted to the rear of the products. And if you go then on the bottom right, we have the CD mechanism, which is, of course, yeah, for playback of CD. Below, we have the discrete headphone amplifier. And yeah, also here, we are not using any IC, but discrete parts to do the amplification. Above, we have the DA converter. So when we get the digital signal transmitted via the MCU, the control unit to the digital domain, then it goes over there. But also here with the DA converter, we do have the isolator, which are coming on in a second as well. Yeah, in the middle top, you can see the network module. And then we have right beside it the power supply just for the analog output stage, which is right beside it, coming with our HDAM SA2 modules. So a lot of parts in here, a lot of different sections which do have to work in harmony to get you the best performance. Looking to the power supply, yeah, key of all energy, source of all energy, key for good performance. You see a big transformer, toroidal one, and the main capacitors, again here made for Marantz, special, yeah, custom made, so that we do get the performance we are looking for. Yeah, and you can see toroidal transformer size increased by 1.4 as a factor, so the weight, and that's quite significant. So strong power supply just to get the best possible energy for all the other sections of the product. CD mechanism, just a close up here with the laser unit, the pickup. We have an extra bracket underneath the CD mechanism, because also here it's very important that you don't get any vibrations. Keep it silent for a clear, perfect data readout once the CD is spinning, the disc is spinning. One more time, lower left corner, you can see the discrete headphone amplifier stage, also with a relay switching, and the front shield, as mentioned before. If we look to the rear, digital connectivity, of course, it's a digital hub. This unit, the C50N, we do have, going from left to right, we have the HEOS module, which also, of course, is covering the USB-A inputs. So we have the streaming and the connection to the internet, to your local network, to your NAS, to your USB, HDD. We do have HDMI chip inside, of course, the HDMI ARC, and we have the USB dock functionality, USB-B controller is pictured here, the XMOS, and all these digital connectivity, of course, is coming with some higher frequencies, which can interfere to the analog domain. So digital high frequency noise can enter the analog domain if you don't take care about it. We do take care, and what you can see on the right hand side is that we built in some isolator ICs. These completely separate the digital domain from the analog domain, only allows to pass on, let's say, the bit information, the digital bit information, but not the high frequency noise, which is coming with all signal processing, running the HEOS module, having the HDMI-C running, or having the USB-B controller. So all the control high frequency noise which can occur is isolated from the analog domain. Again, more clean signal, better audio quality in the end. Then we have the DA converter. Also here we are using a new one, ES9038 Q2M, high precision DA converter, of course, fitting to our needs when it comes to the audio performance, the quality we can achieve. And it also offers us the opportunity to add our own digital filters, Marantz musical digital filtering. We always work not with the standard digital filters, which are coming in a package within the DA converter, but we do apply our own filters, and we do apply 2 of these, so you can select between the ones you like to have. So the next, after we have done the DA conversion, so all the digital signals coming in, we have the isolator. From the isolator, the signal goes into the DA converter. And then we are actually on the analog domain. So the DA converter outputs the analog signal. And this we do pass on to our output stage. And what you can see here marked is the output stage of the right channel, utilizing our HDAM SA2 modules. And left beside it, you can see also again a power bar. I mentioned with the Model 50 that we use for the power amplifier stage, these power bar to have low impedance, run higher current. But even if you run not that high current, because on the HDAM you don't need really high current supply, it's also beneficial to have better, cleaner, low impedance power supply lines. And that's what we're doing here also in the CD50N with the power bar, also supporting the better audio quality. So you can see a lot is done here as well. And talking about power, you can see on the left-hand side, that is the analog power supply, which is on the first top view picture. You can't really see it because the main capacitors, which are marked Marantz here, which are customized ones, aren't visible because they are covered by the main board on top. But you could see or notice the heat sinks, the smaller ones in front, the silver ones. But also here again, customized components all over the place. We have customized electrolytic capacitors as well on different other places within the unit. Other components, as you have seen on the Model 50 as well, we do use all across all the circuitry to optimize the performance, to bring everything in balance, to achieve our audio quality goals. Not just on measurement standards, but especially on the listening experience. And on the right-hand side, you can see a close-up of the gold-plated RCA terminals, the premium ones, which means they are more solid and they do give better connectivity to your connected RCA cable. Stability as well is key here on a CD player, a network player, especially if you think about vibration. If a CD is running, you don't want to have any interference. You don't want to have vibrations on the chassis itself. So we do have, of course, a triple layer chassis, so in a total of 3 millimeters to keep everything silent. And for a solid, let's say, connection to the surface, you're placing the product on. So, for example, your Hi-Fi rack, we also have high density feet with this special structure inside, which you also have seen before, and a special type of felt with a special size as well, because it's all defines in the end the audio quality. Especially the feet and the felt do make a big difference in the bass performance. This picture you have seen, I'm not going to tell you the story again. Ogata-san, he knows how to do it, and we are always very happy to support him here from the European organization. And here a little summary of our digital hub, the CD, streamer, dock, HDMI, ARC, CD50N. Yeah, I already mentioned you get all kind of digital signal processed. You get all digital media connected, and you really can enjoy the digital music or movie from any source. To get out of the digital signal, the right analog signal, we of course do use a high quality DAC, which is the ES9038, which does come with our Marantz Musical Digital Filtering. As mentioned, we do have 2 filters to select from. So you get a slight change for the resolution, for the details presented, for the imaging and the sound stage. But in all ways, be it using filter 1 or filter 2 in combination with the DAC and the digital isolation we achieve a high resolution in the final audio quality. And that's of course supported as well from the analog output stage, where we do use our HDAM SA2, which I showed you. We have done it on the Model 50. Also here, the quality of the HDAM is improved with a better THD result. Power supply, the source of all energy, of course, coming with the toroidal transformer, which is 1.4 times bigger than it was on the ND8006. We have the customized components. I showed you the main capacitors, Marantz branded, and we have a really rigid chassis to hold everything in place and to bring vibration down to a minimum. Everything together brings you the most musical sound. And of course, the best combination with the Model 50, CD50N, the control bars, the products talking to each other, having the HEOS app to control the network streamers, the CD player, is all well nice thought about. It's a nice combination which brings you really premium audio quality into your home, the most musical sound. Okay, that was it with my presentation on these very nice 2 models, the Model 50 and CD50N, to be launched in October. Pricing is €1,800 here in Europe, and available in both colors, silver, gold, and black. And we are now ready for the question and answers. Frederick, hello.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you very much. It was a very nice detailed walkthrough. I'm going to jump right in. There's even a question that came in via email. So here goes. Does the CD50N support direct Ethernet connection to a NAS via SRB protocol? Like, for example, Apple Time Capsule. If not, then how should it be connected?
You need to go via a router. So you can't directly hook up your NAS to the input of the CD50N. So it needs to be a router in between.
That's correct, because it needs to get an IP address, otherwise the NAS won't be seeing it, or the CD50N won't be seeing the NAS either way.
Yeah. In addition, it's very difficult to control just using the front display. Yeah, so it's much more convenient using a HEOS app, and for that you anyhow need a router with a Wi-Fi.
That's right. Speaking of HEOS app, and this is an interesting question, does the Power Amp Direct bypasses the tone control? And explain why. It implies that with the variable out, you don't have the tone control, or should you in this case maybe do tone control via the HEOS app?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, of course, it passes by the tone control, because if you use Power Amp Direct, it goes directly, as the word says, to the Power Amp. So all the preamplifier where the tone control sits is not in function in this mode. I think that's something we have to look up, if there's a tone control available via the HEOS app if you use the CD50N. I don't think so, to be honest, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yes, most likely it's also disabled because the HEOS app will see, oh, you're in direct amp mode, so I can't give you tone control. But that's something we should look at and confirm later.
Tone control makes sense for, let's say wireless speakers, which you control via your HEOS app, but not really for, let's say, an audio source like the CD50N. But we will follow up and we'll get you the answer.
Question from Atesh: does the CD50N use the same CD drive as, say, the CD6007, the CD600, or the DCD900? Or is it a new transport tray similar to the SACD30 and not taking SACD into regard?
Yeah, no, there you have to differentiate between SACD30N, because that's an SACD capable drive, and the drive we are using in that unit is our own developed drive. The CD50N is using the same drive like you see on the CD60, for example.
Which is a newer design compared to the older.
Correct, yes.
Okay, question from Australia. As always in our market, the Model 40N outsells the Model 30 by more than 3-to-1 as a comparable price. Buyers clearly have a preference for integrated amplifiers with digital, HDMI, and network connectivity. So in this context, it seems a missed opportunity to limit the Model 50's appeal and flexibility by making it analog only. What's the thinking behind this approach?
Well, it's very simple. There are many people out there which still like to have pure amplification, so pure integrated amplifier without any digital connectivity to it. As I showed you in the presentation, many of the technology used in the Model 40N is inside the Model 50 used as well. So you can actually compare it like taking Model 40N, taking out the network connectivity, and you do come to Model 50, which of course brings you with a cost reduction. So you're saving quite some money in comparison between these two units. So that's why we also offer the Model 50 as a pure analog integrated amplifier. And we follow up our concept, like you also see it with SACD30N, having a combined CD network digital hub solution. And by that, you build a real system. So for the customer who is not into CD or any, let's say, computer audio, they can be very much happy with the Model 40N, while other customers which also like to go for CD, higher quality separation between the digital domain and the amplification domain, then we have the separation then with the Model 50 and CD50N.
Okay, question from Hans Beekhuizen. Hello, Hans. Could you explain again why there is a SMPS plus a linear power supply for the digital electronics?
So the SMPS you normally use for the standby to run the microcontroller, which actually is processing all your remote commands or all the buttons, button control on the front, or is operating the CD mechanism to get in and out and to start spinning and all these kind of stuff. For this, we use the SMPS because it's very efficient, and we can separate to the digital audio. Digital audio, we use the power supply from the linear power supply, means via the toroidal transformer. This digital audio is only used to drive or supply the DA conversion section. So to keep this really completely clean, so we don't want to have noise which can occur from the main control unit, from the processor in the front. We don't want to travel this noise into the digital audio domain. That's why we separate between these two power supplies.
That perfectly makes sense. Good question also. The answer is yes. I think we've already gone through this, but I rather ask this one more time to be 100% sure. Is it possible to hook to the CD50N active speakers instead of pairing them with Bluetooth headphones?
Oh, you mean transmitting Bluetooth to an active speaker?
I would look at that too. I'd approach that you can use the active speakers using the variable output directly, but then I guess if the active speakers have Bluetooth, that should also work, right?
This should also work as long as they do support volume control. Yeah, because as mentioned, if you rebroadcast the audio signal via Bluetooth, it's a fixed level. So you can't adjust the volume level for the Bluetooth signal transmitted. Yeah. If you use the variable output, of course, you have full flexibility. You can control the volume via the remote handset of the CD50N and then connect wired your active speakers.
Two different approaches, exactly. Very good question. Are these made in Japan in our Shirakawa factory?
No, these aren't. Unfortunately, that's not possible because it would break the bill of material. The cost. So to keep it, let's say, attractive for the pricing, these are made in Vietnam.
Could we repeat the pricing again for the Model 50 and the CD50N?
It's €1,800.
Okay, that's another question answered. Regarding the analog amplifier, how does Model 40N compare to Model 50?
Yeah, as said, the Model 50 got a lot from the Model 40N. Yeah, so all the stuff we learned when designing the Model 40 now trickled down into the Model 50.
Another question about illumination. Do we have side illumination on the front panel like the Model 40N?
No, it doesn't have the illumination.
Okay, then you need to go a step higher up.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah, it starts with the 40 series, let's call it, because also on the Cinema 40, that's where it starts with illumination.
A very good point. Are you aware you're missing sales not being compatible with Cobus?
Sure. Yeah, so we do cover most of the key streaming services. Cobus is also a nice one, which we do not cover yet. Of course, that might make somebody to decide not to go for CD50N. There's the option, a kind of workaround using AirPlay to get Cobus also in the CD50N, but it's not a part of the HEOS right now.
Not at this point, but never say never. So, but there's a workaround because I have a Cobus account and I use the Roon app to stream from my server through Roon to any of the HEOS devices, and then you have the advantage. It's more flexible, so that's another way of doing it. I'm not going to say it's high-res because it's also using the AirPlay transport, but the CD50N has a USB-B input, which means if you have a streamer or a laptop with Cobus running, you could directly connect it to the CD50N's USB-B input and play high-res, so that still works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you have all the flexibility in the system. Yeah, as you mentioned, if you have so first of all, the CD50N is Roon tested. Yeah, so means you can use AirPlay AirPlay broadcasting in combination with your Roon app, and you can get Tidal and Cobus easily streamed. And if you use the computer USB connectivity directly to the CD50N, do you even get the high-res resolution of Cobus? Correct.
A question about subwoofer. Subwoofer output is fixed to 150 Hertz. Does that mean that main speaker outputs are playing only above 150 Hertz when the sub out is in use?
No. So front out is always full range. So we don't do any processing on that signal.
Okay, very interesting question. Why did we choose for Class A/B amplification and not Class D, like in a Model 30?
Yeah, it's a question of price tag we want to achieve. Yeah, so Class D in a high quality, like we want to have it, yeah, you will end up with a Model 30 price tag and not with 1,800 euro on the Model 50. Yeah, so there the Class AB is still the most cost-efficient technology. But paired with a nice power supply, where, like we have done it here, the high current capabilities and the parallel use of power transistors, you will not miss any bit.
Yeah, definitely not missing a bit, because we both heard it in Shirakawa during the workshop, and it was phenomenal. Very nice setup, easy to drive any type of speakers. So as far as I'm concerned, Class AB or Class D is really not an issue right here, right? It's a total different beast.
Absolutely, yeah.
The CD50 using retransmission via Bluetooth to, for example, Formation Duo. That has the volume controls. That's a nice combination. So as suggested. Last question, could you analyze the chipset that is behind the HDMI input on the CD player?
Yeah, so it's just an input, yeah. So it's just taking the ARC signal plus supporting CC.
Yes, and that's exactly what he was asking, so that's fine. What else do I have? Oh yeah, a question that came in via email. Any successors to the PM6007 or the CD6007 or similar devices in that price range?
So at the moment, I don't have any overview on the successor for these models. They will run for sure another year.
Does it take stereo or Dolby? I think Fotis is asking a follow-up question about HDMI. It's a stereo amplifier, so whatever is coming in is going to be down mixed, I suppose?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So it will actually inform the source that it is only 2-channel. So you will already get supplied the 2-channel signal from the source, the connected TV.
Okay, I think we're through all the questions.
Okay, all questions answered. So far, so good. Yeah, thanks again. I hope you liked what I told you about this product, what I showed you about the product, and I'm very happy to see the products in the field, in the market, and I really wish you do enjoy them as much as I did. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Until next time, bye for now.